Hey everyone, and welcome to the Artisans, the Makers, and Me. I'm Beth Scalacci from VillageWorks Communications, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down and talking with Marla Bosworth of Porch Soap Company. I've known Marla for about 8 years now, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But for now, Marla, introduce yourself, your business, your offerings, and where you're based.
Thanks, Beth. Yeah, Marla Bosworth. I own Porch Soap Company. Started in 1998, 22 years ago, and currently I'm based in Springfield, Illinois. Um, and I do primarily coaching now, cosmetic formulation coaching. I work with indie beauty brands, and that's expanding out now to other natural wellness brands. And yeah, and I'm making a little bit of product, but mostly helping other businesses getting either launched or relaunched, or helping them with their cosmetics formulas.
So how did you get started? Sort of what's your origin story, as they would say?
My origin story is, well, I went to school for journalism, English journalism, and out of that, I took a corporate job in market research. And that was a really interesting lead in or experience to where I am now. So with my market research job, I was so techie that on the weekends I would always do some sort of craft, just to kind of offload my brain and just get into the creative whatever. So I did anything from stamping to baking and all kinds of things, right? Just crafty stuff. And then this was back in the day of America Online chat rooms, and I ordered. Somebody said, "Oh, you can order the soap making kit from this guy in North Carolina," and that was, back in the day where you actually picked up the phone to order something and read your credit card number, all that. And I got the soap making kit, and I made a batch of soap, and it was life changing. Like, I know it sounds so corny, but it really, from there on out, I just feel like natural skincare just came into my life and just took me on this magic carpet ride, and it still is. So that's how I got started.
I was talking to another soap maker who said she used beef beef fat or beef tallow for her first batch of soap, which, because she did it 22 years ago, she's like, we didn't have the internet to look it up. I got my book
Yeah.
from the library. So do you remember the first fragrance you made?
Oh, I think it was an essential oil blend that came in the kit. It was probably like a peppermint lavender or something. It
Mm,
was pretty basic like that, but it was something that, or maybe just all lavender is my guess.
yeah.
I wish I had a bar of that soap still, but I think I
I know.
gave it all away.
Exactly. It's sort of like that first dollar that you make. You have to have your first bar of soap still.
Yep.
Um, I remember, okay, so we'll tell the story of 8 years ago, because the pictures just popped up in my time hop. I came up to your place in Massachusetts to learn to make bath and body products, um, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Didn't, I, I think I put in a group we were in that I have not made cold process soap since, because the whole lye process
Yeah.
terrified me for whatever reason.
It freaks out a lot of people.
which I don't know why, but it I don't know. Someday I'll try it, but not now. So how long have you been teaching?
Oh, it's been a while. It really has. And I think probably I dabbled a little bit. I started in 98 with my own business. And I think a year into it, because I was using melt and pour soap along with the cold process, I think a year into it, maybe I did some little classes with melt and pour. But definitely by 2001, I was holding classes and teaching people not so much the business of it, but how to craft with it. And then the business kind of led in when I had my store in 2005, I want to say, in Boston, well, south of Boston, in Plymouth, Mass. 2005, 2006 is when I started to get phone calls of people saying, "Hey, I want to start my own business," or "Hey, I'm a massage therapist. I want to add products to my line. Can you teach me how to do it?" So that's kind of when I answered the calling, was 2005, 2006, for
Okay.
helping people with their own businesses.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was a really fun weekend, and I came home with a lot of goodies to share.
Yeah, that was fun.
um, and so who are you? You said a little bit about who you're coaching now. Like what does your coaching look like overall right now?
Yeah, so right now, it runs anywhere from people trying to connect deeper into their own brand, the why of the brand, and not just the why of, why am I selling it and how do I connect to my customers and things like that. It's more the long-term legacy why. Why do I choose to create what I do, and what does it do for other people? And that can look anything like energy coaching, so um, connecting to someone's, their life, and soul coaching. What are they here to do in this lifetime, which gets really deep. So that's one end of what I do. And then some of the other clients that I have are reformulating their brand, their cosmetic beauty brands, right? And their ingredients of their products so that it reflects more of who they are.
Okay.
And I'm also finding a lot of people are bringing their manufacturing, if you want to call it that, in house. So if they were using a contract manufacturer, where they
Okay.
were saying, "Here's the formula, make it for me, send it to me in jars, and then I'm going to put my label on it and send it out." A lot of people are pulling that back in house because of the lag time now with COVID and contract manufacturers. So I'm getting a lot of people, in that situation too. And then business, some business strategy, some strategy as connecting to who do they sell to, who's their audience, and what do they want to, um, you know, beyond selling their products, what other services do they want to bring in, perhaps,
Hmm.
and collaborations, and really making things exciting in these days. Things are getting more than, I don't want to say that brands before were surface brands. We weren't. It's just that things now require us to connect more with each other and with ourselves, if
Right.
that makes sense.
No, that makes sense, and I think um, one of the things I love about what you do is that finding sort of that thing in yourself and why you're doing it, which resonates so much more. I feel like there's so many people out there, like it's about the photo shoot and about the do it for the gram, and it's exhausting for a small maker to try to keep up, because the companies that do it have, they don't tell you, but they have a full team behind them doing that.
Hmm.
So as a one person shop, it's, your joy is the product, and so I think it's so cool how you sort of work with people of how to then bring that out.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree, Beth. I mean, authenticity is a word that's thrown around a lot now, but it's true. It's beyond that surface look of, hey, look, I'm so, Instagram worthy, so perfect, whatever. And I think, it's done a disservice to a lot of people
Mhm.
over the years of having to look a certain way, and everybody being cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing the flat lay photos with the same old thing, and to look a certain way. Oh, it's so beautiful, But yeah, I'm hoping that's changing. I hear it's changing.
Well, I think people can't get out to their photo shoots anymore, so they have to. They're realizing how hard it is to do your own photography,
Yeah.
and as someone who's done my own photography, you just it doesn't matter how many. It has nothing to do with cameras. It has everything to do with light, is what I've learned. But yeah, it's if you don't have that passion sort of driving you, um, it's hard to come out in a crowded field, because people, they need to see that passion, I guess, is what I'm going at. And
Hmm.
I love that that's what you work with, that energy and stuff, to really get people to put that out there.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me feeling alive. As corny as that might sound, think the Bee Gees, staying alive, right? But it's what's getting you out of bed every morning.
Right.
What you know, if you're going to work hard at something, where's the joy in it? Where's the passion, that ignited feeling of, I can do this. It feels not, effortless sometimes. Other times it's work, because it is work,
Right.
but it's that continual energy that's just, it's not burning out. It's, because when it does burn out, then, you have to shift, or, do something completely different.
Are you finding right now with the pandemic that people are making shifts in their business?
Yeah, a lot of people are making shifts. I think people are finding that if they're trying to do the push, um, instead of letting things flow, and noticing where that ease is and the joy is, if they're trying to push something where, feels like swimming upstream, pushing something up a hill, it just doesn't work anymore. It
Okay.
doesn't. I think with COVID has shown us a lot of things, and that is, where are we spending our time, and again, like, what do we want to do with our lives? Why are we here? And how are we each changing the world, instead of giving our power away to other people? What are we doing to show up and changing? And that can be simply who you are as a person. I always like to say who you be, because it's who you are on a daily basis, your interactions with people, right? What you share. And then it's also what you create and what you choose to spend your time creating and putting out into the world.
And are you finding people are adding to their product line right now, or editing it down, or
Both.
both?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of editing. I would say more on the editing side. What doesn't resonate anymore? What needs to get thrown out? Weeding the garden in their lives too, and then also in their homes, going through the closets, going through the drawers.
Right.
But yeah, going through their businesses, and what don't they like to make anymore? What don't, what doesn't resonate anymore? So I
Right.
would say a little bit of both, a lot of weeding out, and then the weeding out makes room for, you know, the new stuff to come in.
And I know I've heard it in groups, and I'm sure you've, with your coaching and stuff, and I think the buyers don't realize of is how much makers are struggling to get their raw materials and their
Yes.
their
Mm,
supplies in to even produce these things right now.
mhm. Yeah, it's true. And some suppliers are a lot better than others. I'm finding that people that I'm working with, some suppliers will get their ingredients out and they'll receive them within a week. Others, it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I just read somewhere online today that 8-ounce jars are, um, there's a shortage on 8-ounce jars, and it's going to be till March 2021. I think I read somebody post, that suppliers are going to get a handle on those. So it's when you're creating your line, it's looking to see what's available, and then if you have the funds for it, stocking up on what's
Right.
available if you're going to sell that for the long term.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Um, what's your favorite part of teaching and coaching?
I think, there's a lot that goes with it. I love the one-on-one with people, because people really open up and share their struggles and maybe some limited beliefs that I can help them work through, some patterns that maybe they're not aware of self-sabotage, um, not thinking that they're deserving or worthy of abundance in their life. So it's working through some of the stuff that's maybe not so fun to work through. But when people start to see a difference in the shift of when they shine a light on those things and start to let them go and bringing in new beliefs, um, that might be my favorite part, because it's some of it can get really tough. I mean, I have, sometimes people will break down and cry through a release of something, because it's an acknowledgement that maybe family members don't listen to, or maybe it's something they don't want to share with other people, so they haven't been heard. So to allow that safe space of people, to let people be heard, um, of whatever it is, whether it's a personal thing or if it's a business thing, or both, is and in a weird way, it's weird that I say that's my favorite thing. I don't enjoy that people have struggles to go through. It's really the other side, and leading them through that, whatever that is. I've been through a lot in my life, so to witness somebody through their struggles is, I get it, you
Mhm.
know? So that probably, there's that side, and then there's other things that are light, light and fun and everything that I enjoy too. But I think that's one of the things probably that sets me apart, at least in the indie beauty coaching, is holding space for people
Right.
with those
Sort
kind of
of that
topics.
that life coach almost as
Mhm.
well, like getting
Right.
people to sort of dig in, because I think that is one thing that people don't, when you're looking at starting a business, you're not really understanding the emotional side of it all.
Mhm. It's true. And if people have never been in business before, which a lot of my students in New York, when I am teaching in-person classes in New York, it's I would say probably 80% of people have never been in business before, and they're considering starting business. And so if you have no business background of, and I'm not talking about working for other people, I'm talking about entrepreneurship. It's and it's not that people can't do it, it's their expectations. And sometimes I have people say, I want to be my own boss because I don't want to work as hard, or something like that. I'm like, oh wait, let me
No.
just, let me tell you that you're going to work probably harder, but it's
Right.
going to feel different, it's going to be different because it's your own business, your own brand.
Yeah. And so what would, if someone came to you and said they wanted to start a business, what would be one piece of advice you would give them?
I would say along the lines of the digging deep is, and it's not just what's your why, it's the real consideration as to what is the feeling of everything that you're bringing forth to birth, because it's a birth process.
Yeah.
We can all say, hey, look, we want to make caramel corn, and we're going to sell the best caramel corn because we can.
Mhm.
And some people do that, right? Some people they say, I'm going to sell candles. I mean, you look at some of these candle groups, that are around, there's tens of thousands of people all going to go into business based on photos they see. And simply that, I'm going to make a candle. It's going to look like this, and I'm going to sell it. Well, that's a business model, maybe to some extent, if look to your customer base and your pricing and all that stuff. But then, you know, and you're going to be excited in the beginning because you're learning all these things, right? You're learning how to make
Right.
candles, and I'm going to sell them. I'm going to go on Etsy, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to slap a price tag on it. And I've talked to tens of thousand people in this Facebook group, and they all know what they're doing because they're making candles too. And then what happens generally, because I've been through many phases of my business in 22 years, is you hit a wall and you say, why the hell am I doing this? What's my, and again, it's what's your why? What's the reason? What gets you up in the morning to do it? Because, day after day after day, it's not just about pouring the candle and shipping it out. It's not, it's more than that.
Right. Yeah, there's something very, and I can talk from experience, there's something very alluring about the launch of it all. It's probably why I like to help other clients do that marketing launch, is because I that's the great part.
Hmm.
But yeah, that wall is brutal, and if you don't have the why to climb over it or break through it, it's your stopping point.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's also seeing yourself connected with your brand, and how that your brand is a reflection of yourself or an extension of yourself, right? It's both. And so for me, for instance, when I first started, I was making a lot of melt and pour soap and also cold process. And I became known as a lot of soap makers do, the soap lady, right? And I was referred to as the soap lady. And that was great for a while. And then I kind of hit a wall with it, and I was tired of being the soap lady. I'm like, hey, look, I have more to me than
Right.
just a soap maker. And then I felt, that things were a little flat. And so it's like, okay. And then I brought the teaching into it and other products and things like that. So, and I think, with business, it's, another little nugget I would say is always be open to observing and noticing what people are asking for that leads your business,
Mhm.
to let it meander, to let it change. It's fine that it changes. Mine has changed over the years so much. I mean, it's crazy. It's not even the same business. I probably should have rebranded, 5 different times, but I just kept going with it.
Right.
You
'Cause
know,
it's
you
it's working,
Yeah,
so and you have
yeah.
the recognition, so yeah, it it's definitely you have to evolve,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to, and I think a lot of makers too, they love the creative part, um, but then the other side of running the business is the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And it's funny because for me, I like the other side of it. And then the making is like, oh, finding time to make things, because
Right.
yeah, I like getting under the hood of the computer and connecting with people and working Google ads, see if I can figure them out, or Google Analytics, trying to trying to figure that out, which is challenging. But yeah, it's funny. Some people like one side of the business, some people like the other. If you can do the balance, that's great. I always tell people hire hire someone for what your weakness is.
Hmm.
You don't have to learn to build your own website. You don't need to learn all these things that you're not going to do over and over again.
Right.
And whatever you're good at, if you're not good at sales, then hire somebody,
Right.
or just there are ways of figuring out um, how to get around that.
Yeah. No, that's yeah, always, you have to know how to make your product or your service, and then you can hire around for the support of it.
Definitely.
That's
Yeah.
great advice. I do have to ask a question because I see it on your Instagram and your Facebook.
Hmm.
Um, you and you mentioned on your website too, is this the shamanism and the energy coaching that you do. I know we talked a little bit about the energy coaching, but can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So my background with shamanism, I'll just give a brief just background on
Sure.
that. Is I've always felt really connected to the earth. As a kid, I think most of us do. And then we're untaught,
Right.
right, to disconnect, and you're being weird, like whatever. And so I would say like 2012, I just really started connecting again to the earth and land and trees and everything like that, and was led through this spiritual journey of if you want to call it awakening, or deepening into myself. And so that's just naturally a part of who I am, that when I work with people, I can't help but see the energy of what people are talking about. It comes in as a visual, it comes in, I hear it, and yeah, so it's just kind of like all sensory
Hmm.
type thing. So some people might call that intuitive, an empath, and the whole shamanic thing is tied into our soul. So why are we here in this lifetime? We have many lifetimes that our soul goes through, right? And so the whole shamanism thing, and I'm not saying I'm a shaman by any means. i'm not
Sure.
i'm not a shaman. It's a way of practice. It's a way of living that you can't force. It just kind of finds you, and you open up to it, and it's part of everyone's life, really, if you listen to it, and if you acknowledge it and deepen into it. So it just naturally flows through, in and through all of my coaching with clients, because I notice it. And if people aren't interested in that, I usually kind of, I bring it in gently into it. That's okay too. It just it's part of the energy in the room, so to speak, that can't, it's like the elephant in the room in a way. It's like, it's just here. It's going to come in. When I teach in New York, if something's relevant, if it's relevant to the situation, relevant to something we're talking about, I'll just say to people whatever I need to say. And if it resonates, let it resonate. If it doesn't, let it go. So it can be anything from energy blockages with people. It can be a collective energetic feeling that I get with what's going on with people, over the course of months. It can be what's happening on the earth, of what people are releasing, if it's anger or fear, or like in these times, it's taking our power back
Hmm.
individually, not waiting for who gets voted into office. It's, regardless of who gets voted into office, it's about each and every one of us being connected to each other. And that's what shamanism is connection to all that is. It's connection to the deer, as you know, I love deer, tree, earth, everything, because we're all here living humans, either human beings or living beings in whatever form together, and so the sooner we get on board to all working together
Right.
as one, not as two divided or three divided or whatever, then um, the more we're going to be able to start creating new. And that's really what I want to encourage people to do, is what's the new that you're creating, and not just for yourself as me brands, ego brands. What's the new that you're creating, collaborating with other people to bring in, new whatever it may be for you, to change this world for the better.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that's sort of the next evolution of small business is sort of embracing that and moving forward with that. At least I
Mm.
hope. I
Me
hope.
too. And it feels, when people work together, there's this, it's the combined energy
Hmm.
of things start to feel in a way effortless because there's combined energy, right? It's just, and then you have more ideas coming in, and we all have our own wisdom that we bring to the table. So instead of being little islands, by ourselves, which we've been these little ego businesses for so
Hmm.
many years because that's what we were taught and that's what we knew and that's what everyone else is doing. These are the days where people are challenging that. It's like, well, how can it be different? And
Hmm.
systems are breaking down for new systems to be built.
Right.
So it's an interesting time. Understatement probably of the year.
True. We keep forgetting that everything going on this year, it's like, oh,
Hmm.
hasn't it been like 3 years combined?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even when you said it was 8 years ago that we met, I was like, really? Because it just seems like it was, 15 years. If you would have said 15, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I thought it had been longer, but it yeah, it popped up and I was like, oh, I always know around the time that it's going to start popping up on my phone, and it always makes me smile because I had such a good time,
That was so
and
fun.
and I need
Yeah.
to get back into that stuff just from a hobby level, like just create and
Yeah.
have fun and stuff again,
Hmm.
and not put any pressure of it other than that,
Yeah,
other than to
exactly.
make stuff for me.
Yeah, if someone tells you you should sell it, say, no, I shouldn't.
No, I'm good.
Unless you want to. I'm just
Been
teasing.
been there, done that. I'm good. So, given that we'll wrap up on a high note, which we've had a lot of high notes, so I don't want to act like we've been a bummer on this at all. Um, but when things are going tough business wise, what inspires you to sort of push through and get to that other side?
That's a really good question. It's that when things are going tough business wise, honestly, it sounds like a bad thing, but it's not. I take those times as really turning inward to, what do we need to shed, or what do I need to shed, and really get a pinpoint focus on where my joy is, and what I want to maybe bring even more into my life. You get that sense of like that dullness feeling of when things are not going good. There's just this dullness of the layers of things that you're involved in, and those things that feel really dull and dense. If you start to just acknowledge it and say, I don't want to do that anymore, or I don't want to work with that person anymore, or I don't want to belong to this anymore, and allow yourself that shedding process and honing in on what feels good. It's
Mhm.
like being sick, like when you have the flu and you're down and out, you start thinking about things you have to do, and it's like, oh, I don't even want to do it anymore. I don't think I can show up one day and do that anymore.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, then don't, make the change in your life. So that's what I look for. I look for where are the changes that need to come in my life for when things aren't going well, and opening up to new opportunities. And I've had, and as you have with your business,
Hmm.
for a long time, whether it's market crashes, whether it was 9/11, or it was all these things that seemed like the doors were going to close on the business, it's acknowledging what has played out to the to the end of that possibility,
Right.
and saying it's okay to close that door on that part of my business. I'm hearing something over here. Like for me, it was teaching, that was coming really strongly through. I was getting all these phone calls to, come to New York and teach. And I was like, we should just come to Boston, I'm in the
Right.
Boston area, just come up here. And that was around, I don't know, I can't remember what year that was around. It might have been around, um, oh, I think it was after 9/11. But anyway, it was opening up to that. As crazy it would sound like a crazy idea. I didn't know the hows of it, the logistics, anything. And I thought, everything else is closing. All these doors are closing. Then maybe I should say yes to this and see where it leads, which is hysterical because it's, had been such a great run. I don't know if that run is over with the way things are in New York now. But 10 years of teaching in New York, it was just a dream really for
Right.
me, what that led to.
That's great. I I like that it's just be open to the opportunities when it's tough, and I think
Mhm.
that's great sentiment. So, well, I want to thank you for great information and inspiring us all to work together and look inside with our businesses. So, I appreciate your time today,
Thank
and
you.
we will be back soon with another episode. So, thanks for joining us today, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Beth. Bye.